chego jisiron chego nodi jam shibare ani tenzi nibade kamani sonchi ta tenzi nibade karsin jidon khazo kemje emado jila jekanji chimo ani buwa da ji la chimo kanji yeme genzi chimo kanji yeme sonchare ani de nambo so mutune sene yo rojo cheto ani pentu chimo yures ta nge danda 시야지 가르에서는 제일간지 침묵 딱 제자 쪼어든 가서 아니 너무 취지 힘보대 가르에서는 아니 따와 땡종 따와 근데 개바대 가르에서는 개바 체험해 버렸어요. 들으송이요. 따와 땡종도 개바 체험해 봐 니데 제일간지 침묵 송돼야 차청으로 지금 당자가 있는 너도 힘보대 아니 되니 공 발휘를 했어. 따와 땡종 따와다 아니 개바 체험해봐 니 제일간지 침묵 제자 님보 너도나 다 되니 공 발휘를
So the second portion that we are discussing, that the Geshe is discussing is like on the first day, he said, the Geshe said that Khenpo Mataji has already mentioned about the Kanju recitation, why it is important, how it is important, and how we have to recite and how we have to dedicate and all. So in addition to that, he said that Kanju, and also Khenpo Mataji has also classified what are the types that the country has been divided into, and so many things on the first day that we all are aware of. So he said that the country again is also like if you classify it, it is also divided into the views, and also the like immeasurable things. So we just classified into two, which he is going to discuss a little bit about.
That's the 따와 땡종 따와 쓰는 된다 너도도 가르치시고서는 돈이고 아니 동반이고 시고요. 동반이고 송어요. 동반이 세야도 맞죠. 용용 강고야도 용용 상하 동고야 내가도 가르쳐요. 그래서 맞죠. 단단히 노대야도 통대야도 근데 참사는 차바지야 참사는 동아지야 되게 동반이 맞도록 제대로 해서 대인다 단다 땡종 따와 동반이 용용 강용도 근데 맞죠. 아니 창장의 차바지야, 창장의 동아지야, 여기 맞죠. 너무 추모부지 찾아선지 얘도 왕도 왕호야 되게 참 아니 동반이 또 강요도 되게 노아 되게 참만 가로요. 그래서 노아도 있게 돼. 말이 바오고 니모 바오고 단지 말이 바오고 맞은 노아도 추노들 있게 돼요. 돈이 강인데 동반이 또 싫어 강요. 동반이 또 싫어지. 아니 말이 빠지 짱네 너무 자동 차선 짱으로 요래서 대인자 땅아주 돈이 있어야 돼. 제가 따와 땡용 따왔어요. 내가 전부 데려 투요래서.
So when we talk about the as earlier mentioned, this is divided into two, which is first is talking about the views. So when we talk about the views, we are talking about the emptiness, shunyata. So when you like shunyata, you have to keep on practicing by meditating on it. So only then, like we feel that here there is a lot of suffering and happiness and all this because we are not aware of the emptiness. Emptiness here means independent, dependent on each other's one. So we have a lot of we go through so much of emotion in us, like we feel that we are suffering, having pain and all, and in a single minute again we feel there's a little bit of happiness and all, and then all this is because we are not able to clarify what is all this, because we have been not meditating on the views of the shunyata, the emptiness. So when you do the practices of meditations and reflecting and realizing on the emptiness, slowly all these things that comes as a suffering and happiness will make no more sense, because everything is shunyata, emptiness, which means independent. It's not, or it cannot exist on its own. It's dependent on each other. So when you realize that only, then all these things, suffering and the happiness that comes along with you, in you, will disappear. So that's why we have to keep reflecting on the shunyata, which is the main teachings of the Tipitaka.
스타트나 맞아 또 땡종 또 신 길게 땡바 길게对吧 편지기 참마 땡돼야 참마 아니지 파츠 라르돼야 등지 송용이야 대 영역이 맞아 강티바 얘는 맞아 장바방 인지세야 되는 거 망시시 제퇴야지 차여서 그래서 제바치하면 해야 돼 이거 장바도 인지 아니 나코로 땡 거야 이제 콜라니 장바치 거야 인지 치 거야 등지는 파츠 저 뭐지 차여서 얘는다 제바 치하면 봤어야 돼 맞아 아니 무슨 생기 현라 론리 현비 생기라 무슨 치와 본거 맞아 근데 생은 뭐지 아니 그 치와 치고 삼바 되게 뭐야 아니지 장바도 인지 아주 다 현라 장바도 제와 등들라 친구지 현지 체的 아니 소소 까도 간르지 용고이나 아니 용퇴야 아니지 현라 장바도 제와 요 진치지 아니 현지 체的 소소 아니 까도 간르지 용고이나 용퇴와 등르지 세히 친구지 아니 등들라 친지 상 등르지 레토 그래서 장바도 인지 개바 체험해 봐 되네.
So when we, like as earlier mentioned, when we understand that it is dependent on each other, then the natural, the loving kindness and compassion will arise in you. Because you know that it is not only for yourself that you are working, because we all rely on each other. Because when you realize the emptiness, it is no more relying on oneself, whether you are getting happiness for oneself and you are working for oneself, but you have to think about others as well, as everything is connected to each other. So without that, there is no emptiness. So the emptiness shunyata means it is we are all connected to each other, depending on each other. So we are no more independent of our own. We have to rely on others. So that brings upon the loving kindness and the compassion, and which, when we talk about the loving kindness and the compassion, it is actually talking about the immeasurables, like also the non-harmfulness to the others. So when you think about like oneself, like when you are suffering, you will think that, oh, I don't want suffering, but I want happiness. So in a similar way, you reflect on keeping the others in your mind and think about others. Like us, each and every one of us also is same. Yeah? Everybody wants good of health, good things, with no suffering and all these things. So when you talk about this, then whatever suffering that you are able to, you will be able to tolerate it for the sake of other beings. Because now that you know that you are dependent on each other, like you are independent, not free of yourself, but you have to depend on others. From there, when you are working for others, that's how you develop the loving kindness and the compassion. So when the loving kindness and the compassion arises in you, it comes to you naturally, then that's the time that like you can't even stand the other people's suffering. So in that way, whatever suffering that you go through, you are able to tolerate it, thinking that it's nothing, that I'm working hard for the sake of others, that wherever suffering you feel it, you don't feel it as a suffering or a burden on you.
따와 땡종고 따와도 개바 체험해봐 송대야리 농취지 님보임바 짠데 마세 일단 나저니 머리머리 양이 지야다 아니 nomba 째 양나데 아니 같이 모임바 마세 단단히가 된대가 제지세나래 정글에 때는 아주 같이 못 차대요 진짜 가르스나 따와 땡종 따와 세대야데 아니 체리도 저치 못 쉬고 차대야 된대고 체리세나래 아니 모든 사이언스라래 되게 된다고 치고 쳐야. 내가 뭐시 아니 깨바 체험해봐도 아니 전에 시대도 제가 치고 쳐야. 그러나 따와 땡용 따와데 제리도 제가 근데 쳐야 되시나. 나 맞죠 땡용 따와 세르데 맞죠 당연히 공부 시바는 있지. 주간가 편집기를 땡데 봐. 아니 말이 그런 거지. 주노 라바 아니 차동 용대 요때 된다도 돼 매봐. 대부분에서 돼 맞을 봐. 등지지 공부시기로서 된뒤 체리가 그러나 아니 dem시 있는 거 체리다 컨트롤 프로세스라고 된뒤부터 아니 뭐가 체리스네 아니 대인바이나 여기 호주 노원 낭시 아니 지 비결 통대와 농시 니에드메 바 텐르지 지에 나 맞죠 농바가 따와디 안에 델리 세리 반다시데야 델리 통보 쉬오지 차대요 세리 시대야지 센상 따와로지 레요메 차대요 얘는 도나 아니 맞죠 따와 땡요 따와 세대야디 아니 세리를 펜토고 아니 세리바 되게 되면 뭔가 아니 고졸 펜도파 제대야 내가 지금 쉬오지 세리 된저 같은지 차대요.
So now when we talk about this, the views which is shunyata and then the harmfulness and then the immeasurables that we are talking about, it is not only important in the Buddhist, these teachings are not only reflected or important in the Buddhism, but it is very much reliable and very much connected with the science, modern science of these days. And a lot of scientists have been like studying on all this. And then especially when we talk about the views, as we talk about the emptiness, it is depending on each other. So even the scientist has proved that, like through their experiment and all that, it has come to the conclusion that we cannot live on our own. We have to rely on each other. It is independent. We have to depend on each other. And then when we talk about also the immeasurables and the thing, it is very much also related with the quantum physics, where the scientists are saying that, like in Buddhism, what we see is not what it is, yeah? It has a different meaning. When it comes to the ultimate, when it comes to the relative seeing and the ultimate, we have a different things. Ultimately, we see as what we see, but ultimately, it is not that. It has a different things. So similarly, in the quantum physics, the scientists have also seen, like they proved that it is very much like same as the Buddhism, where what they see is not what they like really is in terms of the things and all. So therefore it is very, very beneficial not only for the Buddhists but also for the scientific in this modern world where everybody is relying on the scientific proof and scientific experiment and all this to so in that way it really will be like it's like a useful not only within the Buddhism.
Yes. 아니 당연히 신의 샤이 제가 좀 들어보지가 아니 다다 예바 체험에 왔어야 돼. 따라서 시행의 체험이지와 장바동 제와라서 왔다. 니지 친구라서 와. 대진 생셔라서 와. 근데지 가서 영의 지야도 영영지 아니 제지 뭐뭐 친구가 근데지 파차토와 있는 그래서 예바 체험에 와. 영영 바래. 예바 체험에 와 영바라 때문에 장의 시대 영영 바 물만 거 같아요. 된 따와 된종 따와도 예바 체험에 와니 다 하중 같이 못하는 장의 리 때문에 공부 치슈 아니 시작했으면 양수는 거 내가 좀 내가 좀 전에 때인데다 예종 방법으로 된지 전제 카드로 지금 가서 저한테 뭐 보지고요 다 제가 체험해 봐도 다 된지 다 진이 차대요 그래서 되는데 다 대도로 가서 영원히 로준지야 남아서는 될 뒤진데 아니지 캠문 넘버 내니 간주시야 공고시야 아니 지동리 주 냥의 지야 내가 친구를 해도 되나요 교화당 삼바치고야 돼 내가 친구를 맞아 미 gem바대에는 줄 대바도 고아요와 인자 거의 주년의 시워지 단다 로준 시워 제마토와 있는 요거 계산라 친구요와 다 된대의 현재 대략 현재 되게 아니 줄 로준 지기지 아니 줄 아니 정말 지기지 맞아요 맞아 마음발아니 선지 때마다 예른데 네 돼야 제다 로준 지기지 인생 거야 대용요 로준 좀 받잖아요 봐 로준 지야 냥의 지야 냥도 손든데 봐야 아주 내가 친구랬어. 얘입니다. 단단 말레이시아 내가 tema 동부 얘들 있나요? 너무 주로 고아 제당동, 인지 당당 제당동. 이것도 당 되게 제당데 항상 다 지세로 강가에 근데 지차고 됐어. 아니 너무 정말 왜 되면 강시바데 아니 캠보 넘버 유신이 넘버 내는 시바데 세우시고 정스데나 노트 공청이와이나 동시시야다. 아니 남부서 배도를 때문에 정해와이나 아니지 말하는요 계산 후에야 등지지는 상상이 아니 되지스
So now also like when we're talking about the when we talk about again the harmfulness that we like immeasurables or the tawa, which is also the view, which is emphasized as the shunyata. It also helps in bringing the, because when we are talking about not harming the others, it is actually helping to bring the world peace, the world to be in a peaceful state. Because when we emphasize on not harming others, means that there is always a peace, isn't it? When we don't harm others, that is the meaning that is bringing the peace. So that means it is helping the world to bring peace. So, and also like nowadays the youngsters and all also, even if it is the Sangha members and also the not non-Sangha members and also, you have to practice and study together. Like for older people, we can say that you have to do your practice and all, and then they have much faith and devotion, so it is easier for them to like understand when we talk about the practices. But when it comes to the younger generations, they need to be proved in the experiment and all. So that's why when we tell the younger ones, we cannot be just pushing them also to practice, but they have to study and at the same time practice the Buddha Dharma. So only then it will be able to, because that also comes to the conclusion that because the scientists and all are also doing a lot of experiment and it's connecting so much with the Buddha Dharma, so we can also reflect that to the younger ones. We can show the path to the younger ones as well. Study together and practice together. And then in terms of Geshe-la, he said that this is his first visit here to Malaysia. And then, but he said that he had a wonderful observation that each and every one of you have been practicing very well, doing very well, and then the way that you all carry yourself and prepare all these things, and so much good things, then even the Kempos and Geshe-las who are others who are here also have done so much things. So he really rejoiced and be grateful for this. And he said if in case he have done anything, because he is now talking in front of the many Kempos and scholars and many of you who are very learned than me, like him, he's saying that if he has done anything wrong, or if he has said anything wrong with or without knowing, he seek your forgiveness. And then he said that if he has done and given a talk or the sharing, and then if it has benefited you all, then he said that the merit is not it doesn't come from him, but it is all entirely from his Buddha and then his gurus and all these things, his masters and all. So that merits that he accumulated, in case if it has benefited any of you, he rejoiced and he dedicated it back to all other sentient beings. So with that he said, thank you very much. So if any of you have any doubts, you have questions to ask to Geshe-la, he said we have another few more days of the recitation day. So during the break times, we can always have the discussions or further discussions. So you can always come and ask him. Or if you have any advice that you need or any questions that you need to ask him relating to the topic that we have given or anything that is related to the recitation, he said you are most welcome to come during the break to the end.